What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Today's guest is the bass player for not only one, but two amazing local metal bands. The first of which is In Rapture, and the second is N.I.A.T, which stands for Night In at Tiananmen's. Both of these bands recently put out brand new albums, and today we're going to discuss the recording process. We're going to talk about the inception of these bands, and we might even listen to some tunes. You can check out both bands linked in the description of this episode. So scroll down, check out these bands, and go check out those albums. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Zach Ostwalt. Cheers.
Cheers, friend. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. I always love having guests that want to be on the show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's somewhat difficult to reach out to people and be like, hey, you want to come do this thing? So anytime somebody reaches out to me and is like, hey, I'd be interested in doing this, I'm like, perfect. Because I've had plenty of times where people just back out on me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not really something they want to do. It's just, I don't know. So
yeah,
it's always nice having somebody that wants to be on.
Well, thank you for having me. Very glad to be here. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people from the music scene doing the weekly podcast thing, so glad to hop on where I can.
Well, and sure. I love having musicians on because it's actually something I can relate to, so it's easy to talk about. Can't tell you about like the amount of times I've had people on, I'm just like, what can I pry them for information of? Like, I don't know what we can talk about. At least like with music, it's relatable and I can riff on that all day. So, speaking of which, you are in not just one, but two bands.
Yes.
First off, I feel like that would be incredibly difficult to, like, manage that. So music is pretty much just your life then, right?
Yeah, it's a really, really big part. Like, when I'm not trying to go make money, usually spending time with the friends making music, really, really big part of my life, yeah.
Well, and you're not just in two bands, you're in two very, like, active and bigger bands in the music scene.
Yeah. We try and, with both of the bands, we try and stay really active. Yeah, like we're here to write music, play shows, for sure.
Which is awesome. I could barely manage doing one band as far as that goes. So how do you manage your time with that? And how do you like break it up evenly amongst the bands? What's like the practice schedule like?
So In Rapture's been on Sundays. Like everybody has Sunday off. Like that day is In Rapture Day. It's our Sabbath, if you will. Everybody has to have Sundays off for In Rapture. And we've been trying to just do like a 1-day practice a week for N.I.A.T as well. So it's like we'll try and do like 3-4 hours scheduled aside every week for In Rapture, and try and do like a 2 to 3 hour N.I.A.T practice as well. And when it's album production cycle, it's like try and find 2 weekdays every week to do recording sessions, mixing sessions, stuff like that. So when we're producing albums, it's like 4 to 8 hours a week on the productions, plus the 4 hours of live band practice, I would say.
Right on.
Something like that.
I mean, that's a busy schedule.
Yeah.
But it takes a group of dedicated guys to be able to, because it's so hard getting, because how many people are in Rapture? Like
there are 5 people in Rapture and 4 for N.I.A.T.
Yeah. So to get that many people on the same schedule, everybody's working, everybody's got social lives and things like that. It's tough, but you got to be
tough,
dedicated to do it, So.
Yeah, but I think the bottom line is like everybody in Rapture is like we're going to do this regardless of the jobs that we have. So
right.
Like here's the day we do it, and we're going to find the jobs that work around it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, there's weeks when someone can't make it. Like,
for sure.
People have anniversaries, people have kids' birthdays, like things come up, and there's days where the 5th member can't be there, but the other 4 are gonna show up and work their asses off. So.
Pretty much the only time I found that it really just doesn't work is if the drummer can't go.
Yeah, that is hard. It is like, thankfully the technology is good enough where if you're recording music and you're working on stuff, like there's plenty of work to be done otherwise. the guitarists know how to record their stuff, if they know how to record to a metronome, set up click track, stuff like that, like that won't hold you back so much these days if you're specifically working on recording stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you're putting on a live show and you don't have a drummer there to practice it to, it becomes a lot more difficult for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah, the drummer is still that's the heartbeat, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't, I guess for me, we don't have like the tracking just yet to be able to do that without. So anytime we're missing the drummer, well, plus practice is always at his house.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Is Lucas Speed still your drummer?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I've known Lucas for a long time. I remember watching one of his old bands. I believe it was Idiot Kid Arsenal. I remember watching his band play at the FOE and Shooters Bar back in the day.
Yeah, I remember. I feel like I saw him play with Attic Dust once, and I know I saw him play with Cancerous once when he was in Cancerous.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot he was in Cancerous. That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, been watching Lucas for a long time now.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
Like he's probably the most solid dude in the band as far as just like he'll never miss. He's always just on time, musically and in general.
You know what I think makes Lucas a solid dude? Always remembers your birthday.
Oh,
he will always wish you a happy birthday. That is what makes him a solid dude to me. He may be a solid drummer, but man, solid guy too.
Yeah, no, he is. He's a great guy. Danny Shrieky from N.I.A.T. I used to be in a band with him long ago. Like,
oh, okay.
Briefly, it was like maybe a 3 to 4 month stint. We played one show together, but he's a cool dude too.
Was that Suburban Society?
It was
Suburban Society. I hear the whispers still to this day of Suburban Society.
That was one of those bands that was like the high school band that just was always around. Carter was in that one, and
that's right.
Andre.
Yep. The original Carter and Andre band.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. And then Justin, who's in my band also, was in that band. So that's how I even got involved in all that, and that was just such a brief stint. But
I feel like those high school bands are they're like the bootloader program for the great band program that is to follow. Like Tony and I were in a high school band that I would consider like that's the installer, if you will, to the full program that's gonna come. So like Tony and I were in a high school band called My Soul Beside Me.
I remember that name.
Yeah, and so like that band I feel like was like the installer that you download to install the real band of In Rapture, if you will. But like, I mean, it was also like a really good way for us to like cut our teeth. You know, you don't get the final product without building up to it to begin with. Like, you have to go do those gigs when you're a punk ass kid that's never gigged in front of anybody before. You know, you have to go shake the nerves.
Yeah, you get your feet wet a little bit. I mean, as much as the local music scene is, you know, dialed down from what like the national music scene would be, there's politics involved, and there's like little intricacies that you have to know as far as like etiquette and just like
I mean, you have to learn how to work with the people around you too. Like, you have to learn how to work with a sound guy. You have to learn how to communicate with the venue and the people that are booking you and stuff. So, I mean, it's a big learning process. It's just like any trade. You have to learn the tricks of the trade and the craft.
And the best time to do that, like, I suppose as an adult, if you were getting in a band for the first time as an adult, you kind of have more common knowledge, like just common sense.
Yeah, you're not just a dick kid.
Yeah, bullheaded kid that thinks you know everything, which is definitely how I felt. And one thing I remember being really bad about when we were first starting music was like setup times, like getting things set up quick, breaking down. Like once you're done, you got to break down if you're not the closing band, which we never were.
Right.
So we got our ass chewed a couple times, like, hey, you got to like get on this. And I was like, ooh. Ever since then, I've always had a tight schedule of getting things on and off stage. Especially as like the singer, I don't have any equipment, so
yeah, you can just go to the bar, right?
But I
take
don't
the microphone off stage, and
I make sure I'm helping with drums and I'm helping load equipment. Like until we find a full-time roadie, which I don't see anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
It's always we always enlist people to help other bandmates, like from other bands, but I'll help any other band as well. So
yeah, that's the way to be. It's just it takes a village. You know.
That's a good way to think about it.
No.
So both bands, new albums out. I kind of want to dive into both bands individually. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to give them both like a pretty fair amount of airtime. So let's just kind of break them down one at a time.
Cool.
Who was the first band you were in?
In Rapture. So In Rapture started in 2013.
Damn, it's been that long.
Yeah, we're celebrating 10 years this year. Yep.
Wow, congrats. That's
Thank
crazy.
You. Thank you.
I mean, I suppose if I really thought back to it, I would be able to figure that out, but you guys aren't. I know you guys aren't like newer, but I didn't think 10 years. That's crazy. That's awesome.
I moved in. Our guitarist Nate and I lived together from like really late 2012. I think I had just turned 21. I was just about to turn 21 when I moved in with Nate, and I was playing in a band with Tony at the time. Nate had been demoing ideas for what wasn't a band yet. He had just written like 3 songs, I would say, and I was living with him. I was a bass player. He needed bass tracks for these songs, so I ended up putting the tracks to the songs, and like before you know it, Nate had recorded the drums in the basement. He's got bass, he's got all the guitars, and he's like, "Man, these songs are pretty good. We should probably do something with them." So little by little, Tony would come record some guitar, and Nate would write some keyboard parts to him. And I don't know if it was Nate just like picturing what could be with these songs he had written or what, but I mean, it was probably like a matter of 2 weeks before he had members recruited to come practice all these songs in our basement. And I mean, the rest is kind of just history. Like, he picked and chose his, like, who he thought would be the best fit for the band from other bands in the scene. I know I'd been living with him, so I was a pretty easy choice for bass player. Tony was practicing in our basement at the time with our other band, so he was already there with his guitar amp and all of his equipment, his pedal board right there to come put stuff to that. And Nate knew Sam, our current keyboard player, knew she was really interested in playing music, writing music, so got her on board. And yeah, before you know it, I mean, it went from having a few ideas on a computer to all of us just jamming in the basement every week. We just couldn't get enough. Just all we wanted to do was keep jamming and writing together and booking shows, and it just snowballed out of control.
Is it all the same original band members then?
Yeah, we used to have a second keyboard player.
Okay.
But she left the band, I think, 2016, maybe 2017. Yeah.
Okay. So other than that, though, everyone's still the original members.
We changed drummers at 1.2. So we wrote and recorded our first album with a different drummer.
Okay.
And JR, our current drummer, who's also the drummer for N.I.A.T.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, JR and I are the also drummer, bass player, rhythm section for N.I.A.T. So I think it was our second year as a band, maybe third year. Before our second album came out, as we were about to start writing our second album, we changed drummers and got a new drummer.
Okay.
And since then, the lineup's been stable, just the 5 of us.
Okay, right on. And was it always intended to be just instrumental?
Yep. We never ever had vocals on any of the stuff. We've had a couple songs that like we've done covers of that we've done vocals with, and we had our friend Zachariah Peabody put vocals to one of the songs that we'd written. But all of the songs have been written instrumentally, and the song that Zachariah Peabody did, that was kind of like an afterthought, to where after we had written that song, he came to us. I believe he came to us. I'm not sure if Nate reached out to him to have him do it, but it was after the song had been written. We'd recorded it, and then afterwards, he came to us and recorded the vocals for the vocals version of that song, if you will.
I mean, it's very unique in itself just to be an instrumental band, because especially here, like, I think you guys are the only one, as far as I know.
Yeah, as far as metal goes, like
Sure.
like I think the jazz scene has a lot more of the no vocal. Like we were just at Thirsty Street Brewing and watched a no vocals jazz trio.
Okay,
And,
well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what jazz is sometimes.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
But yeah, as far as metal goes, you're not, I mean, definitely not the only ones to have ever done it. But
yeah.
it's still a unique concept in and of itself because, I mean, I've seen you guys many times. And as a vocalist, all I do is think is like, God, this could
It'd be so cool if this vocal like.
But that's
vaulted
just
over the
me
top here.
thinking
Yeah.
the way that I think, you know,
Yeah.
using my only musical instrument. But it's like, that's cool though, because that almost leaves interpretation to anybody else who's like wants to think that way in itself.
Yeah. That's how I like to look at it too. Is like it leaves the like, what does the music make you
Right.
feel? Like you can interpret it. Like it doesn't even give you like words to put over it. Like
Well, and it gives more expression to the music. Like it allows the music itself to tell the story, kind of like orchestra or something like that. So I think that's very unique and pretty cool that was always the original idea and it just kind of stuck. So the new album, title,
Yugen.
Yugen. Okay, what does that mean?
I believe that's like a longing for home.
Oh,
if I'm
okay,
not mistaken.
okay.
Yeah.
And how many albums is this?
This is our fourth one. We've had Memories and Nightmares. We had our self-titled. We had Oceans Arsenal. Yeah, this is our fourth one.
Very cool. And who'd you go through for that?
We recorded it ourselves.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, so Nate and I have both been into audio production for a long time. Like I remember being in middle school and Nate played in a band with my brother in our garage and stuff. And he had like an old Tascam like 8-track digital recorder that like you would plug in 8 microphones into, kind of like a mixer like that, record it all, mix it on there, and then it would burn a CD of what you recorded. So like I remember being like just like a punk ass like teenager, 12-year-old, like watching some dude plug microphones into a little mixer in our garage and being like, oh dude, this is mind-blowing stuff. And yeah, it's just kind of evolved where I've learned with him and other people over the years and learned how to record music better, how to mix music better, mastering, and just like it's just so it's a bottomless rabbit hole. Like you
For
could
sure.
spend your whole life learning all of that stuff.
But it's nice when you have the control to be able to like do all those intricacies of piecing together the song yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean it's super applicable knowledge
Well,
to have. Like,
and you don't gotta spend any money.
yeah,
I mean on equipment you do, but not necessarily on like
yeah, what you would spend, like, I mean, especially being in multiple bands, like I'd be spending a lot of money having people record hours of material over the years at a professional studio. And,
yeah.
I mean, it is a trade-off because like you also what you spend the money like buying the equipment, but then you have to spend the time learning how to make it like sound not shitty.
True.
Like,
true.
so
But once you
there's-
have that knowledge, you have it for life.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I also do love helping my friends produce albums too. Like I've helped a few bands in town produce music and mastered an album here or there, tracked and mixed an album for friends here and there, and like I find that really rewarding too.
Sure.
Like it's not necessarily to make a buck off people, but like at the end of it, like you have a song that wasn't there before you put it into your computer and mixed it all out, you know? So like I find that work really rewarding, and I really like being able to help my friends do this stuff too.
For sure.
So it's been rewarding in a way, like
I'm sure it's kind of
beyond recording my own band stuff, beyond just selfishly doing it for me. I get to
Right.
I get to help my friends.
Spread the wealth.
Yeah, give back a little bit to help as much as I can.
So have you always done self-recording then throughout the band?
Yeah. So our second album, we had the opportunity to travel to Seattle and record at Robert Lang Studios, which is a pretty well-known studio in Seattle. So we got to do the tracking there, but then we mixed and mastered it ourselves still.
Cool.
So like for the most part, it's been almost all self-produced.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's always nice.
Mm-hmm.
Who does, do you have a specific person that does the artwork for you guys for your cover art?
So the this newest album, we went with a different artist. Someone we just found.
I really like the album art, by the way.
Yeah, it was a guy named Fendi Daywalker on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just some guy that our keyboard player found his artwork and was just like, wow, this is like a lot what we had in mind for our stuff. And yeah, beauty of the internet reached out, reasonable price, and before you know it, like, yeah, that's what our album looks like. That's the visual that accompanies it.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that. Any big shows coming up that you want to promote?
Yeah, actually, so In Rapture, this week we'll be playing, we are playing Helena and Butte tomorrow and the day after.
Well, this will come out on Monday, so.
Oh yeah, so. Yeah.
So, Helena and Butte, I hope you enjoyed the shows.
Posthumously, if you will. This, yeah, we're playing Helena at Jester's Bar tomorrow and Butte at KBMF.
Sweet.
The day after. But yeah, after that, we have like 10 shows all in a row. Rapid City, Laramie, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, Salt Lake, Pocatello, Boise, Portland, Tacoma, and Spokane. All of the dates available on In Rapture's social media, Facebook, Instagram, and the venues as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, but 10 shows, 12 shows coming up with In Rapture in the next 2 weeks.
Like a little summer tour then.
Yeah. Trying to go play this music for as many people as we can.
So that brings an interesting point. How do you balance doing tours? Because I know you just did a tour with N.I.A.T.
Yeah.
Like a 5-6 date tour or something?
Yeah, it was 9 shows in 10 days.
Oh, 9. Wow.
Or maybe it was 8 shows in 9 days. Yeah, 8 or 9 shows in 9 or 10 days.
Okay, so yeah, how do you balance doing that with both bands? Where you got to go on a tour? Is it just like, hey, they're understandable when I go on tour with you guys, so it's got to be vice versa?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. So like, N.I.A.T. is 2 members of In Rapture. So like,
oh yeah, duh,
drums and bass, like gotta understand, like, you know, we're gonna book stuff for both bands, but thankfully, like, everybody in N.I.A.T. is also friends with everyone in Rapture. Like, it's nothing but mutual respect and camaraderie, and like, we've all been friends for so long that it's, yeah, like, we don't have to worry so much about stepping on toes, so much as it's more about just like what realistically works for everybody's schedule. Right. And like, it's more of just like open communication and a lot of lead time, like lots and lots of lead time. I think we were planning this kind of stuff like December.
Okay. Yeah.
So like a lot of lead time and just open communication, honesty, mutual respect. Like, if you're covering your bases and like doing everything you can to like respect everybody else's, because like everybody else has jobs, you know, everybody has family and things that they need to do with their lives too outside of the band. So like, it's a lot of covering your bases. Like, if we know we're booking something with one band, we're immediately communicated with the other band. It's a lot of communication, and yeah, it takes some work, it takes some effort. Things slip by, and before you know it, you're scrambling to cover stuff, but like,
it all works out.
Yeah, it works out. It's all worked out, and like, I think the fact that there's like different visions between N.I.A.T. and In Rapture, like, they're such drastically different styles of music, even though they're both metal, like one with vocals, one without. One's like a really extreme kind of pushing the bounds grindcore. One's like a progressive metal. Like, they're pretty different visions, scope, if you will. So like, we book them a little differently, like a lot more DIY venues with N.I.A.T. and stuff, and like more, I don't know how to describe it, as like more just like, yeah, it's got that like DIY, just like punk rock kind of just go out and grab it by the balls, like style. Like, they have a little different scope and a little different like end goal, I think.
It's definitely, I mean, because I was going to make that point too. Like they're very different, drastically
Yeah.
different styles of music, which is probably awesome for you that you get to like explore two different realms of metal. In
Yeah,
general.
absolutely. And like I feel like N.I.A.T's so abrasive.
Yeah.
And like I'm like a pretty angry individual
Sure.
at times. Like I deal with that for sure. Like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, you know? So like that gets to like express that side of my personality a lot more. And like In Rapture is more of like how can I make these emotions translate into like a beautiful end product for somebody. So like they're really different sounding in the end. Like they're branded so differently that
Right.
that makes it like kind of an easy, like you're going to have different fan bases to begin with. Like people are going to come to the shows like for different reasons, and you're going to have a different crowd to some extent. Like to some extent, like it's me and JR, so our friends are going to come to the shows too. But like there's people that come to the N.I.A.T shows that I would never expect. Like there's like a local congresswoman that like just loves the N.I.A.T shit. I see her at like every N.I.A.T show. I'm like, man, just like never would have expected it, because it's not like, you know, it's like one of me or JR's friends that's coming to like support us or anything. It's like people that like see our singer's message that he has to say like politically and can relate to it and stuff. And you don't get that with the In Rapture because there isn't the political message behind it. Like there isn't anything lyrically for people to, you know, rally behind, if you will.
Well, and that's one thing I will say is very interesting about just like heavy, you know, like you said, grindcore or just death metal, whatever, you know, any genre of what you would consider to be extreme metal. It's so interesting to see what kind of people actually are into it, because like you said, a congresswoman, like who would have ever expected that?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool in a way, because my general taste of metal varies across all platforms. Like I like some alternative stuff. I like all the way to like heavy stuff. But it does generally, and you were kind of alluding to this earlier, it does generally attract a certain crowd. Like you got to be a pretty specific person to like heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that kind of limits the venues you're able to play.
Oh yeah, definitely limits the venue. Like, well, it doesn't just limit the venue. Like when we so I'm not an original member of N.I.A.T, and neither is the singer. So N.I.A.T used to practice in the basement of the house I lived in, and it was a couple friends. JR started the band with the guitarist of In Rapture, who's no longer in the band, but I am now.
Okay.
But yeah, it attracts like a different kind of musician too, because like when we had auditions for a vocalist, it was like yo, you can't sing, no singing, it's all screaming. Like it has to be this abrasive. And when you're dealing with that kind of abrasion, there's venues that just don't want it. Like
for sure,
it's so loud. Like we have amps, like we have full amps that we're cranking distortion through. It's a singer screaming, like screaming. He has a sound effects board that's just there to make harsh noise. Like it's not for everybody, and there's a time and a place for it. And
for sure,
I can appreciate that as the person making it too. Like, dude, we're not here to ruin people's night. Like we don't need to be there at every event. Like there's a time and a place for sure.
Well, and especially in Montana, it's like,
yeah, it is a hard sell in Montana too.
I just feel, and then you even limit yourself again where it's like not covers, because so many venues want cover bands, and that's what we've noticed has been really hindering us from being able to play other venues, is just the fact that we're metal. I mean, we're kind of a middle of the road metal, I guess, but also the fact that we're just originals, and most places want you to do covers, and that's how you don't get on a Live After 5. That's how you don't get to play like certain events like that.
Yeah, and I think that's just like it comes with the territory.
For sure.
Like N.I.A.T has no intention of playing on a Live After 5 because people don't want that. You know, you just have to be realistic. Like read the room, man.
Exactly.
You gotta read the room.
So you kind of alluded a little bit on the NIAT side. Uh, Take me through all that, like the beginnings and when did that all start?
Yeah, so N.I.A.T started as I believe it was a 4-piece band. Our drummer, JR, kind of put it together. It was him, the guitarist from In Rapture, Tony, the vocalist from his old band, Fallen is Babylon, and this crazy, he's like a mad scientist guitar player named Edward Longo, who
Okay.
used to live here. He moved to Nashville recently, well, a few years back. But so it used to be 2 guitars, drums, and vocals, no bass. That lineup eventually disbanded, and it was JR and Tony kind of looking for new members. And that band had always practiced in my basement, and I would always kind of just like help set up their PA. I recorded a couple demos for them and stuff. But it seemed like a good fit for me as a bass player because, I mean, aside from the convenience, it was music that I was really interested in. I liked the idea of playing really abrasive, really aggressive metal. Like, it felt like a good progression for me moving forward writing. And they were able to get our friend Will on board with vocals.
I love Will.
I love Will, man. Great guy. And so excellent to work with as a vocalist too, and as a writer.
It's so funny because like anytime I'm just talking with him and stuff, he's so chill and so just like calm, cool, and collected. And then you see him on stage, you're just like, this is a different dude. Like there's 2 personalities to this guy. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That band, yeah, the lineup like started just kind of in our basement as like a rebirth of the original lineup. And eventually Tony left the band and we got Danny Chiriki on guitars. So this is kind of like the 3rd revision of the lineup that we've gone through. The second one with me in it. But this one in a way has seemed also the most productive because we just did our second tour. The first one was more of a regional. This one went down to Texas, all the way to San Antonio and back.
Yep.
So like pretty much
How
from
was San Antonio?
Great.
I love San Antonio.
It was a lot. God damn, that one was hot.
Really?
Good Lord,
Humid,
that one was,
too.
yeah, it was hot and humid. We did the river walk, and boy, I was chafing.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. That one was, it was good. Texas was good to us.
Cool.
I mean, good fucking barbecue too.
It looked like, I saw pictures and stuff. It looked like a good time.
It was a good time. Yeah, Amarillo, a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of good times in Texas. San Antonio, I think, was my favorite of like the shit we got to do that wasn't like playing shows.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the best like
It's like a
free
party.
time that we got to spend. Yeah, like we walked around all of the river walk and saw the Alamo and had good food down there and had some
Margaritas.
drinks. Yeah. It was a good time.
There's a piano bar right there on the Riverwalk where like late at like whenever they start playing, you can just do requests and they'll play whatever. But they have like a full band. It's like pianos mostly, but then it's a cool spot, man. There's like live music all over down there too.
Yeah. It seemed like a lot of live music in Texas. Austin was fucking crazy.
Dude, I can
Holy
only
shit.
imagine.
Man, yeah, we sound checked and then walked and like we heard like 10, 12 different punk bands, rock bands, metal bands, all sound checking like the same like 3-block strip we were playing. Like,
yeah, I don't know if it's still true, but I know for a long time Austin was like the central hub in the United States for
live music capital.
Yeah,
for sure.
For especially rock and metal.
Yeah, I believe it now. I definitely believe it. I hadn't fully like bought in, if you will, to the concept of Austin's just got all these bands. Like it's got to be just insane. No, it lives up to the hype for sure. Lots and lots and lots of bands that night.
Sweet, man. So you're talking about the tour. You said this is the second tour you've done. How many albums?
So this is the so N.I.A.T had done an EP, like a 4-song release before that, and then one full length.
Okay.
So this is our second full length, third release total, and we've done like a few one-off singles otherwise.
Cool.
Yep. So I think it was our second full length.
And I imagine you do all the in-house stuff with that as well.
Yeah, we actually we sent it to be mastered elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we were able to all pitch in a little bit extra and send it to a guy in Portland who his name's Bradley Boatwright. Shouts out to Bradley Boatwright. Brad, you are the man. I know you're not gonna hear this ever because, like, man, can't even get you to answer an email. But Brad, man, I love you, dude. Bradley Boatwright. Thank you so much for making this album sound so good. Brad at, I believe it is Audio Siege Studios. He has done a lot of great grindcore, the modern grindcore albums, bands like Escuela Grind, I believe, and Full of Hell. He's done the mastering on those. His biggest, like, mainstream master that he did was Stranger Things. He did the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
Just, like, I mean, you're talking about top of the line, like, there's a big step up from what he can do to what I can do in my basement. Like, this is a guy who, like, has not just the gear, like, a great studio with excellent equipment, but the experience to go with it. He's been doing this for so long. Like, something like my band comes across his desk, he's gonna know this guy's doing this in a basement and his studio doesn't have good sound treatment. Look at this big buildup of low end. Like, his bass is peaking here big time. Like, he never even heard it. Like, he's got the ear, he's got the gear, he's got the equipment. Like, it's almost like an inspiration of like where you can level up to if you work as hard as this guy did, you know? Like, it's like seeing the next step in the progression.
Well, that's cool that you were able to do that.
Yeah, we were able to all pitch in, and man, it's like a blessing to have band members that are all willing to, like, I mean, you know, it's not free to have somebody like that master your shit. Like, to have band members that are like, here's what it's going to be 4 ways. Like, let's fucking put the extra work in and go do it.
I don't know that in 3 years my band has ever made money. Like, we pocket any money we make playing shows, but for recording, for merch, for any of that stuff, I think we originally put in like $50 each to buy our initial merch.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's just been like a revolving door, being able to just like sell the merch, buy more merch, sell, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Is, you know, you keep ball, it's keeping the ball rolling.
Some people don't think about it that way, though. Yeah. Like, you gotta this is the most business-minded I've ever been, is being in a band. Like, having to think about things like that. And I've had guys in our band be like, you know, so are we ever going to make any money on that? It's like, probably not. Like, if you want to keep making merch, you're just going to have to put it back in anyway.
Mm-hmm. So
maybe one day, but not probably anytime in the near future. Whereas, like, playing shows, we're actually putting in work. So originally we were putting that money into a band fund.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like we've gotten to the point where, yeah, if we're going to make money playing shows, we're going to keep that money.
Yeah, it's it definitely makes you think about things in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because, like, I mean, yes, your band is going to make that money, that profit percentage. And that's why, like, planning things is so important. Like, how much you're going to spend on the shirts, how much you're going to make back on them, and then what you're going to do with that money. Like, the profit, like, you're gonna pay for the shirts to get printed again, but then what comes with the money after, like, the extra bit. Like, you have to, like, there's levels to this shit, man.
Yep.
There's levels to this shit. You, like, the more you think about it, the more you plan it. And, like, it's something I've struggled with too. Like, as I've gotten older, I've wanted to be like, you know, what is my 3-year plan? What is my 5-year plan as a musician? And, like, I don't think, like, it takes a certain type of person to be like, how am I going to turn me being good at bass into 5 years worth of a career? You know, like, it is a different thing. 'Cause, like, I mean, no one's going to pay you to sit on some couch and play bass for 5 years. So you have to like, I mean, there is planning that goes along with it. You can't just be like, here's my talent and I'm good. You have to, how do you translate this talent into maybe paying your bills? If it's not going to pay your bills, maybe it pays for the t-shirts and pays for the next merch too. Like, you know, you have to think about it in a different way than I'm just going to go sit and play my bass for a little bit.
Right.
Like it takes a different mindset, and you got to like planning out how you're going to do things, but you also can't look too far ahead into the future either, because, you know, like In Rapture's been around 10 years, but not a lot of Billings bands have been around 10 years or more.
Yeah.
So I know, like, at the same time, I know bands that have gotten bitten in the ass because they get together, play music for 3 months, and record their first songs, and they print 500 discs, 1,000 discs, thinking they're going to sell all these in the next year because they're booking shows, and
then they're just stuck with a stockpile.
Yeah, then the band breaks up and you got 2 boxes of CDs to get rid of.
That was my... I went the other way. I when we originally bought shirts, I think I only bought 42 shirts, and just to see, I needed a sample size, and I'm so glad because I stupidly bought a lot of smalls.
Okay.
I just bought like 12 of each size, not really thinking about the fact that I needed to get 2X, 3X, because we had a lot of requests for those. And no, we still to this day have smalls from that original run.
Oh shit, yeah.
So anytime I make reprints, like of new stuff, I only get like 3 or 4 smalls,
a couple
and
smalls.
Then get extra double, triple, 4X, you know, because you need those. And now I'm glad I did that though in a smaller bunch, because now I kind of have an idea. Plus, we got to see, do people even want this stuff?
Yeah, the trial batch size, like that's why, like, I mean, breweries they brew their first batches small batch,
right?
Like do the testing sample batches, if you will. Like coffee roasters, they're gonna roast half a pound at a time if they're initially starting up their business. You know, you don't want to just, like, it's a big risk.
Yep.
Like, you have to know that the market is there if you're gonna drop a big investment into a bunch of merch as a band. Like, you have to have the shows booked if you're gonna drop big money on a lot of merch, a lot of t-shirts, albums, hats, all the stuff. Like, you got to have the shows booked to go sell that stuff if you're gonna drop that money. So it's a learning experience. There's a learning curve there for sure. Like,
yeah,
I kind of wish I would have taken like marketing classes in college.
I literally just learn by following other, like I just hear different stuff from other people, and I kind of just find my way through the middle of it all, and that's kind of just how or just learn by failing.
Yeah, I think failure is actually one of the best learning mechanisms that we can have. Because, like, man, there is nothing like, I mean, it's the same reason fucking fat shaming works like a motherfucker on me, dude. Like, dude, I just don't want that negative experience in front of people again. Like, if I have to fail in front of people, like, I'm gonna do my best not to do that again.
Right.
Like,
well, but like you said before, don't bite off too much more than you can chew, because then you're stuck with all this product or all this extra stuff that you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
You got to get the sample size out first. And that's kind of, too, we played music for a year before we printed any merch, because we need to know, for one, are we going to be sticking around? Are we good enough to stay with each other? Second, do people even like what we're doing? And now we have a market of people that want to buy this stuff.
Yeah.
And that 3 years later, I wish we would have made it. We finally just recorded our own EP, but we waited this long because we wanted to know that it was going to be worth it.
Yeah, establish your brand.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
And make sure our stuff is solid, and that we've got our songs the way we want them. And
quality product at the end, you know?
Yeah. Before I forget, let's shout out the N.I.A.T CD. We didn't name it.
So the N.I.A.T album, called Head First into the Berkeley Pit, reference to our good old Montana.
I loved that, by the way.
It's 10 songs, all produced since like November of last year. It's all very recent material. First album with the current lineup. Me, Danny Chariki, Will Summers, J.R. Anderson. Yeah, grindcore from Montana.
Who did the album art on that one?
Oh shit! You're hitting me with these questions. I don't know. That's another artist that JR found on Instagram. I believe the name is Morbid Dusk. Morbid Dusk, if I'm not mistaken. Morbidusk on Instagram.
Cool.
Don't hold me to that. I'm pretty sure that's it. Almost positive. Had to come up with that one. I'm sure the top of the dome.
If it's wrong, I'm sure we can find it somewhere. We'll follow the rabbit trail down there.
Yeah.
I do want to listen to some of these tracks, but I know I'm going to forget. I got to ask you just some basic recording questions because, like I said, we just got done recording our album or our CD.
Yep.
First thing, just a general question because you said that you do sound engineering and things like that. What goes into mastering? Like, I understand what mixing is, but explain what mastering is. Like mastering an album.
So I think of like there's like two, maybe three main things that go into mastering. I think of it as the first thing, it's loud enough. Like a big part of mastering is just getting the shit loud. So, traditionally, like there's been something called the volume wars with mastering, where everything just tries to be louder than the last thing released. So like metal band A will release an album, and then metal band B will be like, shit, we gotta be louder. Our album has to be louder on the, like, play it on your phone. Our album has to be louder on the phone than like this band, or play it on this speaker and ours is louder on the same speakers.
Gotcha.
So like part of it is like get a competitive volume and overall sound out of your album, like EQing and compressing the actual tracks.
Okay.
But like I like to actually look at it as more of like mixing a song is like all of the instrument tracks get brought together and mixed together, all of the instruments into a song. Mastering an album is like mixing all of the songs together to make an album. So like the way that you mix all of the instruments to make a song, you're mixing all of the songs to make one cohesive, big, full-length album.
Okay.
So every, like, the way that the songs transition into each other is like really crucial in mastering. I'll take a lot of time and like really, really nitpick how the songs flow into each other, how one fades out, how the next one fades in. Some of them need to start like the song ends abruptly and then the next one starts just like hits on the next downbeat. Some of them need to fade into each other, if you will. Like, there's some art to be created.
Sure.
In that very narrow window. You have like a very limited sense of creative freedom, how you're gonna make this stuff flow together.
Yeah.
But there is like a legitimate like need for that in the production phase. Like if songs transition from one to the next in a really jarring, unsettling, unnatural way, it like pulls the listener out of the album in a way. So like that's more of like the subtle artistic approach to mastering. Like the real, like, I don't know if like the hard labor of mastering is done getting it fucking loud. Like making the shit loud enough that it doesn't seem super quiet on the radio. Sure. Like it has to go from one song on the radio into yours and not feel out of place.
That makes sense.
Like,
that makes sense.
Like the same way that like whoever made this table had to like sand the shit, had to put a finish on it. Like it's the same thing. Like you're sanding and putting the finish on the songs, combining them into an album. The same way you're sanding this piece and this piece and this piece. All of these get sanded and finished and then combined after the sanding and the finishing.
Sure.
In the same way, it's the final finish process to the music.
Okay. And then my next question, and this is going to be very crucial for me, going into the next stage of what we're going to do, distribution. Like, how do you go about distributing it on Spotify, Apple?
DistroKid, baby.
That's what it is?
DistroKid. They're the fucking best, dude.
Okay.
Like,
do they
man.
do hard copy too?
DistroKid did not do the hard copies. CD Baby is the company we went through for physical distribution. But like, dude, I cannot get that company to just not fuck me around for one printing. Like, it's like every time I send something to them, they're like, yeah, this border was like a millimeter past this line. Like, it's always something with them. Like, it can never just be nice and simple with, actually it's CD Baby. It might be like a parent company.
Okay.
Disc Makers is actually the company we went through.
Okay.
And, the In Rapture was actually really, really smooth with them. I shouldn't shit talk like that.
Well, CD Baby.
N.I.A.T had a little bit of an issue with Disc Makers printing. Things came out kind of dark. Not exactly how we had them. Like, it didn't translate super well from our Photoshop document to the disc. The In Rapture one went a lot smoother. Okay. But this is like fourth one we've done.
So you're used to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rapture. So like it was a little bit of a learning curve with the N.I.A.T one.
Okay. Yeah. CD Baby was the one that I had heard of. I just didn't know if maybe so you go through them for the physical copy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then for the other distribution.
Yep, for the digital side of things we went DistroKid.
Cool.
And man, they have been nothing but great to work with. Like, I had a band break up and like I didn't pay for the digital distribution for that band. I was like 10 months late before on my payment before they were like, dude, you didn't pay this for a year. We're going to shut your distribution down. And I was like, hey guys, sorry I'm late. Can you keep it up? And they were like, this guy, yeah, fine. Yeah, we'll keep it up. If you pay us, we'll keep it up.
And it distributes to all platforms?
Yeah, Amazon, Spotify, like any of the major digital ones. Like they were good, like beyond good to me. Like they were good to me when they shouldn't have even been good to me. Like they are too good of a company. Like, well, so fucking nice. I can't even believe how nice they were to me.
That's a shining recommendation. I think we might have to look into that.
Yeah, can't say enough good. Like they're tops. Absolutely tops.
Well, let's listen to some of these tracks, huh?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
Now, first thing, I don't know if this is going to flag me for doing this. I shouldn't, right?
No, you have permission from the creator,
well,
right?
I would hope so.
Like, how hard are we gonna have to petition this?
I doubt it.
I don't think we will.
I'm just saying, if for some reason it gets flagged and I have to cut it out, just know that that's what happened.
Okay.
But for anybody out there, we'll name the songs before we play them if that happens to get cut out, or if I only have to like maybe play a snippet of it. But.
Word. Yeah.
What is the first one you want to go?
N.I.A.T's debut single, How Long Does Shit Burn?
We're ready to go. So one more time on the song title.
This is How Long Does Shit Burn?
Nice.
Yeah, that is How Long Does Shit Burn?
And then so kind of tell me a little bit about that.
So that is actually a song that JR and I wrote the instrumentals for shortly before like the COVID lockdowns. I think we had JR had like the idea for some of the drums. Like that song's like it's very like mathematically based. Like the intro is like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. So like it's really like influenced by like math.
Okay.
Like it's really math core. Like we came up with like mathematical patterns for like the way the breakdowns work and stuff. So like he had the idea for that like late 2019, like super early 2020, and we kind of recorded that. And like right when things locked down, like February 2020, we recorded drums, my bass, and as like the new lineup with N.I.A.T progressed, that was one of the first songs that Will wrote lyrics for, I think. Pretty sure that was one of the first handful of songs he did lyrics for. So like it was me and JR and Ed Longo, old guitar player, had kind of like structured that one together. Shouts out Ed. Love you, miss you. And Will wrote the lyrics to that song about John McCain.
Oh, wow.
Republican politician who he does not care for. There are specifically quotes of John McCain, and I actually don't personally. I think there are a lot of politicians that I have a lot more negative feelings towards than John McCain, but there are a lot of John McCain lines, like John McCain saying he wouldn't trade with Middle Eastern companies or any company based in any Middle Eastern country. He wouldn't trade with them because A, they trade in burqas, and America doesn't trade in burqas. And B, they like one-way flights, so he wouldn't feel comfortable flying there. So for these reasons, our singer has adopted a disdain towards John McCain. I will say, personally, I don't share the animosity towards John McCain because when he was campaigning against Barack Obama, there was a moment when an American voter said, I don't trust Barack Obama. He's an Arab. He's not American. He doesn't have America's interests in mind. And John McCain, to his credit, said he's an honest American man. He's a good man. We disagree on the issues. But like what you said isn't true. So I think there's a lot worse politicians out there. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like I can agree a lot with the sentiment behind the lyrics that Will wrote for that song. Because I mean, there is a lot of xenophobia, and I mean,
I'm sure it's applicable to a lot of different aspects.
Yeah. So like I think, and I mean at the same time too, that's human nature. Like you're going to be able to find things you don't like about anybody.
Sure.
But I mean, when it's the people that are leading you that have control over the policy that affects your day-to-day life, like I think Will has good reason to write the things that he's written about John McCain.
You'll get no argument out of me when it comes to politicians. I don't really care for any politicians when it comes to either side. I think there's corruption in all of it. So
yeah, I was
some way, shape, or form.
I was curious about how you and I were gonna, talk politics. I didn't think we were gonna do a whole lot of it, thankfully.
I mean, politically, I find myself more just being in the middle.
Yeah.
Like I find that to be the safest place because you're not pulled in. Because anymore, it feels like if you say you're right wing, you're a freaking hardcore Trumper and this and that, like you're all the way to the right. And if you say you're a left winger, you're freaking blue hair, and you're like the full side of the left. And it's like there's definitely middle ground to everything.
Yeah, there's a lack of nuance.
Right, and I feel like the majority of people are more toward the middle. Like, I think we're more rational thinking toward the middle, where, like, everybody just assumes if you're on one side, you're all the way on the one side. And it's like, that's why I'm just like, I'm independent. I'm in the middle. I can draw from both sides. I can see, like, the gray areas, and I can make my own opinion.
Independent is the title I use for myself as a voter, too. Just because, like, I mean, it's every time I look at a ballot, it's like, who are the candidates and what do they think on the individual issues?
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't like the idea, like, I heard a lot of, in the 2020 elections, blue no matter who.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Well, like, no. I don't want people just, like, sneaking in, saying they're blue.
Yeah.
And, like, why should I vote, like, based on a color? Like, dude, this isn't kindergarten.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, man, this isn't like my favorite color is blue, so like I'm gonna pick this person to choose my future here.
Well, it's like Trump didn't get elected based on his policies. He got elected based on popularity.
Yeah.
And the fact that people enjoyed watching him and they liked him doing crazy shit and saying wild crazy shit. Like that, it was must-see TV, you know? Even like left-leaning media couldn't help but put him on all the time because it was.
I mean, it's must-see TV,
right? But he never got elected on his policies. He got elected because it was exciting and it wasn't boring. You know, just economics talk or something like that. He would say wild shit, and that's what drew all these people in. And now there's like a cult following. It's very bizarre.
I will say, I don't think I truly appreciated how goddamn funny the Trump presidency was for what it is.
When you look back on it, it's
in hindsight, holy shit, it's funny. There are some funny moments, but I didn't find it that funny when I was living it.
Yeah, well, if it's in the moment, and it's like, that's kind of how it is now, too. Like, there's a lot of, things that Biden does that you're just like, ugh. And it's
I hope we can look back and laugh,
and I'm sure we will. It's very, very similar to like George Bush. George Bush had a lot of gaffes.
So good, it's comedy gold when you look back now. Like, man, you go watch the interview where Trump is meeting Kim Jong-un for the first time.
What a bizarre world!
So awkward and uncomfortable. Like, you just can't help but laugh. That's so funny. Like, it's just funny.
Well, we might get round 2. Who knows?
God help us.
I keep going back and forth as to whether or not I believe it or not, but only time will tell.
I guess we'll see.
Let's listen to the In Rapture song.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about this as I'm getting this ready.
This song is called Until We Meet Again. It is the first song off of the newest In Rapture album. It's mostly like the basis of the song was written by Tony, our guitarist. And
I've been going to therapy.
Oh, no worries. It's dedicated to the people we've lost recently.
Nice. See, that I saw that actually, I think in that first video you sent me.
Yeah, the music video.
It had like a little message in the beginning.
Yeah, kind of like a little memento at the beginning, if you will.
All right, let's check it out. Like the build-up.
Yeah, man.
You really get a lot of emotion in that. Like like I said, man, that's what I like about the instrumental thing about it. You don't. I feel like with lyrics, sometimes you're kind of directed to feel a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's such a clear message and like clear thing that's, to an extent, I guess. I tend to try and write my songs like to be somewhat open ended. Like I want to be kind of vague where there is a lead message that I'm clearly writing to,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be interpreted a number of ways. With instrumental, it can be interpreted many, many, many ways.
Yeah. That's why I think some classical music is great. When it like a song is called like composer's name, Symphony 1, Movement 1.
Right.
Like you have nothing to like assume the song is about when it's just called, you know, if it's called Mozart's First.
Right.
Or you know, if it's just like the song is a number, like if it's something that like the least amount of impression you can put on somebody before the song. So like I think having no lyrics is good for that, because I really do love hearing songs where like you can interpret the lyrics in multiple ways, where like it's almost like depth, like peeling the layers of an onion, where there's the lyrics that are like the surface level, but if you dig deeper, there's more meaning. Mm-hmm. Like, I love that, and I think that is a way that lyrics can actually greatly enhance a song, is when...
If like, it's not about, like, a very obvious thing.
Yeah, because, like, the way that a writer... The way that they handle the workings of their language, like, the way that poetry is beautiful, like, that can add a layer of beauty to a song that wouldn't have it normally, even with, like, imagine the music is the same, and even the vocals, like, the singer is singing the same melodies. If the lyrics are written differently, it can lose something. Yeah. It can lose some of the depth. Like, you can interpret just the words on the paper without any melody into, like, if that has depth without any musical, like, melody, without anything behind it, like, I think that is an addition to the song. But in a way, I also feel like it can lead the listener to interpret the music in a way. So, like, I feel like there really is, it's a double-edged sword, if you will. There's the benefits of, like, you can really present your message in a strong way and have it interpreted it as you want it to be if you have lyrics that are explicitly saying your message.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's a totally different thing to have somebody interpret just the music with no words, and not in a title can influence that too.
To an extent.
So like, yeah. So having something, even just the idea of having something titled already, like, affects the listener's mind. It's
true. That's true.
Yeah, it's just this, it's a weird concept of, like, how much do you want the listener to interpret?
Well, and also to an extent, you want to convey a message too.
Yeah. That's
like, there is a clear message that you are, in fact, trying to convey.
Yeah. How much do you want to convey? How much would you like left open to interpretation? Sure. Like,
and there is room for both.
Absolutely. And I feel like with N.I.A.T, that's the one way that my two bands differ. Like, there's a lot of songs I feel like have a pretty explicitly, like, this is the message. Yeah. Here's the message. It's written out black and white in lyrics. Like, you can take these lyrics, read them without the music behind them, and understand the message, see where we're coming from, see our... In a way, not necessarily all four of us, more so Will writing the lyrics. You can understand his thought process, his belief system, based on the lyrics, even without the music. And it's a completely different artistic vision with In Rapture, where, like, that song, the one we just listened to, Until We Meet Again, like, I feel like with its title, really is explicitly about losing people in our life, but the interpretation isn't there with the lyrics, to where listen to that and
attribute
make
it to your own losses and things like that.
Apply it to your life, if
Yeah.
you will. And yeah, I feel like that's pros and the cons of not having lyrics.
Well, either way, it conveys a message, and I felt a very strong message with that song too. So, very well done. Definitely for anybody out there, go listen to both these albums. Like I said, I'll link everything in the description so anybody can go check that out. We do have a little bit of time left if you still want to talk some UFC.
Absolutely. We have to talk MMA because we met because of an MMA fight. My wife and I just happened to be at Rio Sabina's having drinks, and I believe it was Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. Was that the fight we watched?
There's no way I would remember what fight it was because we've seen a few fights together.
Yeah, we've definitely ended up at the same venue a couple times watching MMA events, but I'm fairly certain it was the second fight. Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo. I think it was the second of their four fights. And oh man, what a blessing as an MMA fan to be able to see those guys fight 4 times. Just epic fights back and forth. But that was actually, I think, the night that I met you for the first time was we just happened to be posted up at the bar next to each other. And we were just, you and my wife, watching fights, and we just started bullshitting MMA and like...
Yeah, it was just regular bar small talk, and we were talking about the fights and things like that. And I'm pretty sure, didn't you get those really expensive tequila shots that night?
We did, yeah. My wife and I balled out, and so that was actually the weekend I had gotten back from working a masonry job. I had worked a construction job out of town for 6 weeks. Lived in a hotel out of town in Baker, Montana, very small town. Laying brick, laying sandstone, foundation and veneer for a credit union in Baker. So I had just gotten back from working a month and a half out of town. We were celebrating, and we were taking very expensive tequila shots, and the guy next to me at the bar happened to be watching the UFC fights that we were watching, and enjoying, and I had to offer, I'm not gonna take a shot like that,
and I couldn't accept because like that, they were like, I'm not gonna say the price, but they were not cheap, and I was like, I can't. I would be to a debt to you if you did that, but you said they were good.
They were good, and thankfully we did get to have a drink together and watch some more MMA.
Yeah,
I think the bottom line is we have gotten to enjoy drinks together.
Yeah.
We have gotten to watch fights together. We've gotten to talk a little MMA together too, and I'm very thankful for it because none of my bandmates, most of the people that I play music with, not interested in MMA.
Right.
It's very much me and my wife.
Okay.
Like, that is our thing together, and then like we come together and tell our other friends about the great times we've had enjoying MMA, and nobody else really gets it. They're happy for us that we get to go watch our sport.
Well, it's nice that you both enjoy it too.
Yeah, I never would have thought, like, this is something my wife and we got together and started dating, and it was years before we watched MMA together. And I'm so thankful that, like, I threw on some fights one day at the house we lived together at, and I was just like, yeah, it's been a while. I haven't put on MMA in a while. Do you like watching the fights? And she happened to say, yeah, my dad and I used to watch these together all the time. Like, I like this and this fighter, and here's why I like him. And before you know it, her and I are just like, every weekend, we just love watching these fights together. We have fighters that it's like, I like this fighter because of this fighting style, and here's what this guy does well, and it's entertaining to watch because of this. And like, it really is an artistic expression, and man, it's so entertaining and so brutally honest and human. Like,
yeah. Well, and there's no team involved. It's one guy versus one guy. Like, you die on your sword or you win by your sword.
Yeah.
Like, so when did you start? Like, what era was it when? Who was big when you kind of got into it?
So I think when I was really getting into it for the first time, Matt Hughes and GSP were in their
Uh-huh.
rivalries, and Matt Serra. So it was like GSP conquering his foes.
Yeah.
Was one of the first eras
So
of
like
MMA.
mid-2000s.
Yeah, like I was like freshman in high school, 8th grade, kind of coming up. It was like right after I had gotten out of Taekwondo. I took Taekwondo when I was younger. And as I was like, none of my friends took it, and I was like losing interest in it and stuff. And like, as I was growing up, like, became less interested in that and started watching MMA a lot more. It was like, oh, here's where the martial artists that really want to lay it on the line. This is where they go. Like, see if their Taekwondo beats the college wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, really lay it on the line.
And now it's gotten to the point where like everybody's so good at everything.
Yeah, dude. I mean, people have been training just MMA since they were 12.
Yeah.
Like, it's a totally different game, evolved way beyond what, like, I mean, GSP was a pioneer. Like, he was the first guy to have the, like, stand-up kickboxing and be like, now, here's how I'm going to incorporate the ground game. And, like, how I'm going to trick people into thinking, like, this is this stand-up kickboxing, and then the second they think that, boom, blast the double leg. I'm on the takedown. I'm hitting the jujitsu. Like, I mean, we're talking split second. Like, they're in the process of throwing the strike, and GSP's transition to the takedown, and that takedown is transitioning to the jujitsu. I mean, it was really leveling up the game and advancing the thought process of the game. Like, I think that was...
He's by far one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, that was kind of the era, and I feel like I was, like, you kind of, like, look at when fans get into it, and you can, like, see the different eras. Like, man, the guys that are, like, I don't know if you follow Raul Rosas junior Man, the people like him that, like, they're teenagers, and they are already beating people in the MMA game. Like, we're witnessing, like, a total revitalization of the game, and it's pretty incredible to watch 19-year-olds that are beating full-grown men in a cage.
Yeah.
And doing it off technique. Like, it's because they've practiced so hard. And, I mean, at the same time, like, you see plateaus in that game, too. Like,
True.
Where it's like, no, you have to spend time, like with the gloves on striking, too. And
well, there's a level of being too young for the moment.
You just don't have the time, and, you don't have the mindset.
Right. The maturity. I remember, I do remember seeing, like, Forrest Griffin and Chuck Liddell and guys like that fighting vaguely in my youth. I'll never forget the moment that I was just, like, back into MMA. Because, like, I was a casual fan, let's just say, at the time. Just liked it here and there. But it was the Conor McGregor hype. I knew all about it. I had heard about it. Like, it was all over sports. The rise of Conor. I saw Conor versus Aldo. And granted, it wasn't quite the full-length fight we were hoping for.
Like that.
But just based on that alone, I was like, okay, I'm in. So ever since, what was that, 2012?
12, 13.
Pretty much since then, I've been strong, and only for the last 5-6 years, I've been like every pay-per-view. I'll try to watch every pay-per-view. Sometimes, things get in the way or...
Yeah. I mean, well, shit, they don't make them fucking easy for everybody to just buy.
No,
like,
that's why I go to Rio Sabina's.
$80, like...
Because I'm gonna...
Oh, that's... I have got to say, I love having places like Rio Sabina's to where my wife and I can go spend $20 on dinner.
Yeah.
Tip the bartenders fat, have a drink each, and you're still coming out spending less than buying the pay-per-view to begin with.
Exactly.
And the tenders and the servers have a good night that night, too. Like...
Well, and it's a nice atmosphere. You get to hang out with people and
bullshit.
You
and I never would have fucking met. We wouldn't be here doing this shit if it wasn't for a place like that.
Exactly.
Like, getting people together to watch some fights, like...
Do you guys still go there, or?
Yeah, we go there from time to time. It's like, I think we end up going like 3 times a year. Like,
yeah.
I'd say it's like 3 MMA fights a year that we go to Sabina's for.
Sure.
Catch the big ones, have some beers, hang out with the tenders.
I missed the last one just because I don't remember why. It wasn't a great card either, but it was cool that Amanda Nunes got her retirement.
Oh, that one just this last Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Amanda Nunes. See how, like, because, man, I think her run is pretty legendary, man. She went, 12 fights undefeated or something like that.
Not only does she stack up she's easily the greatest women's fighter of all time.
Yeah, I mean, you compare her run to, there isn't a man other than Anderson Silva.
Right.
I think it's pretty hard to even find a male that compares.
Well, and the fact that she held 2 titles consistently, defended them both.
Too, for so long. Think about how little competition she had at 145.
Right. And look at her resume. Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg.
It's a killer's row.
Yeah.
Unreal. It's
Shevchenko twice.
Yeah. It's like every former champion in those weight classes. It's like every single one. She didn't let any former champion go without beating them.
Yeah, she not only belongs she belongs in the ranks of the greatest of all time. She's up there with John Jones and GSP, Anderson Silva, Demetrius Johnson. She's right up there with all those guys.
I put her on my Mount Rushmore. I do 3 males and Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what she did against the competition it's everyone.
And not just that, in dominant fashion.
Oh man, yeah. Big time. I think you do have to give huge props to Juliana Pena.
Sure.
At the same time, what a fight that was.
But then she came back and just decimated her immediately after that. It kind of negates it in a way. Don't get me wrong.
I think it
you said, huge props to Pena.
I think it both solidifies her legacy, and I think it also, at the same time, it gives the clout to Juliana Pena.
For sure.
I think it solidifies Amanda Nunes. This was her era, and now moving forward, it is Juliana's to take or lose to squander.
Yeah.
All eyes are on her. We got to see now.
She'll probably get the next title fight. It'll be probably her.
Has to be.
Or they're talking about making that, is it Holmes Pennington? Raquel Pennington?
Ooh, that'd be great.
Because that's coming up in 2 or 3 weeks.
That'd be great.
They're thinking about putting the title on that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Pena gets the winner.
Yeah, and Pena gets the winner for sure. If you're lining it up like that, because she's just coming off an injury too. So,
Pena.
there isn't even, who knows when she's
They're not going to schedule it.
Yeah, they're not going to book her in the next month.
They're going to want to get a belt out there. And if it's on a fight night, even better. Because I'm pretty sure that's scheduled for a fight night.
Yeah.
So even better, you put a title on the line. Mm-hmm. That's going to get more viewers in on that. How stoked are you for International Fight Week?
Who's fighting on that?
Alex Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez.
Ooh, very stoked. Yes, yeah, the Volk fight that's coming up. Yeah, Volk will be excellent.
Or Moreno's fighting Pantoja?
Yeah, Pantoja. Is he the only guy who's beat him other than Davison?
No, I'm sure
he's had other losses since.
Not recently, but
yeah,
it's been. He had a rough go at it in the beginning.
Yeah,
so
but
I don't
Pantoja does have has a win over Figueiredo
or Moreno.
Or not, yeah, Moreno.
That card's stacked. If I had my phone, I'd look it up. But yeah, there's I think Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker's on that card.
Ooh, yeah, I get the Hangman.
Bo Nichols fighting on that card.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, he's a great prospect to watch.
Yeah, that card's absolutely stacked. It's almost so stacked I think I might just buy it.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. International Fight Week's always...
It is.
They make it worth it.
And then they just announced a bunch of cool fights, like Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov.
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
that's coming up.
It's Umar's first, really big
challenge
rank.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one, because he seems to have the whole package. He's got the grappling, but man, his kicking
He's a Nurmagomedov.
His kicking game, man. He has the craziest, you watch when he throws a front kick, his, spine has arch to it.
Yeah.
He's, whipping his spinal cord back to get the velocity. It's crazy to watch that guy fight.
Yeah,
there's some contenders in 130. You want to talk about depth and division, 135 got to be number one, man.
Think so?
Dude, I mean, you get through the top 15 and the number, the next 5 unranked guys are killers.
Bantamweight is a tough one. Honestly, bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight are all stacked.
Yeah, lightweight's my number 2 pick is for most stacked because like you get through the number 15 guy in lightweight too, and it's still like holy shit, you are like,
especially when you throw Volkanovski in that list because he's clearly like gunning for that.
Yeah,
and then you add Max Holloway just announced he's going to move up to 55. So like it just gets more and more stacked now, and featherweight's losing a lot of those guys. But
yeah, I'd say featherweight's not quite as deep.
Yeah, it's starting to peter out just a little bit. It's tough when you have a guy like Volkanovski who's just like,
I was just
running.
gonna say, like, it's hard to like judge the depth when like you hit top 5 and like there's a huge gap between 5 and 1.
Right.
Like it's kind of hard to judge depth.
I mean, 2 and 1. Max Holloway's the number 2, and Volkanovski's beat him 3 times. The last time, the most definitive of all of them.
Yeah, absolutely the most definitive of all of them. I mean, the other 2 fights didn't even look like the same fight. But yeah, I would say like that makes it it's kind of like hard to judge the depth of a division when Amanda Nunes is just wrecking everybody in the top 5. It is kind of hard. Like I think that is part of the reason that 145 in the women's never got its fair shot.
It's gonna dissolve.
Yeah,
I guarantee
it's
you.
gone now.
And then I think we see the bantamweight title move around quite a bit in
What do you think about Valentina moving up to 135 now that she
lost?
lost?
I bet she will.
You think she will? I think she goes for that 135.
I think she's going
too.
to try and do the Nunes and be the double champ and run both divisions.
I think so too. I think now's her time.
Yep.
Like you don't get a chance like that.
It kind of sucks that we never got to see the third installment of Nunes versus Shevchenko.
I agree and disagree. I'm not that, like, of all of the, I think the Max Holloway, Volkanovski fights, like, where it's like, you got 2 of them, and then it's like, no, we need the third. Like, that wasn't definitive. I think that was a better example of 2 fights that needed the third, even though, like, the call went the same way.
But Shevchenko wasn't the fighter she is now.
Hard agree on that. Absolutely agree on that. Like, man, her ground game, like, I couldn't believe, like, the ground, like, You watch her fight people and she just picks them apart in the stand-up. And then the next fight, it's like she identifies it in her training. She's like, I'm not going to kickbox this person to victory. I'm going to get them to the ground. The Jessica Andrade fight.
You know what? I
bet
they probably would have done it had she retained her title. Had Shevchenko beat Grasso. If there's no way Dana White didn't kind of know that this was going to be Amanda's last fight.
Yeah.
I bet you if Shevchenko had her title, they would have possibly tried that.
Yeah,
it might have been in
see
conversation.
That, yeah.
But because she lost to Grasso, like there's no room for that now. Because the hype is only if it's a champ v champ.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't have someone move up and shoot for the title if they're not already the champ below. Right. And man, what a great win for Grasso.
Oh, like, for sure.
That was huge underdog.
And you know what? So I'm not I've actually leaned back on my sports betting.
Oh shit!
But every now and again,
so you're really mad at Grasso for winning
because
that fight, huh?
I had a 5-fight parlay. Only one of them missed, and it was the one that had the greatest odds not to fail.
Yeah, the dominant champ picking up.
I think she was a
easy
plus
W.
900 or something like that, and Shevchenko was a minus 900. Right? Minus is the favorite? Yeah.
Yeah, minus 900.
And so she had I had whatever that fight card was.
Yeah, 10 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
Shevchenko.
I had like 4 out of 5 right, and that was the one that failed me.
See, we have very different betting strategies. Once Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes, I've decided I'm not going to bet on a fight unless it's like a 10 to 1 underdog like Juliana.
And then just bet on the underdog.
I think she's just got the dog. Like, I'm going to bet on the 10 to 1 dog that I think's like, what I really should have done on, I should have bet on Jack Della Maddalena's first UFC fight, because I watched his Contender Series fight, and I was like, he's going to rip this 170 division apart till the top 10 easy, like, for sure. He's a madman.
Yeah.
And like, his first UFC fight, he was like a 5 to 1 underdog against an unranked fighter.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, he's gonna fucking rip this guy apart. Like, this doesn't, it's not even gonna be close.
He's got a big fight on International Fight Week too.
Yeah,
I don't remember who he's fighting, but That's a good one.
It's his first like top
Real
10
challenge,
guy.
yeah.
It's his first. Oh fuck! I'm actually gonna look
Do
it
it,
up
do it.
because yeah, I have been big on Jack Della Maddalena since his Contender Series fight, and I knew he was just gonna rip through his first at least one, maybe two fights in the UFC as a unranked welterweight. And yeah, like the unranked guys weren't quite on his level, I would say. I think he had a lot of experience on them in the
I mean, you look at the guy; he's got a broken nose already.
I mean,
Yeah,
dude,
you don't fuck with a guy that's like that.
No, I've always said to my wife, like, if you're in a bar and you see the guy with the cauliflower ears,
You don't fuck with that guy.
I never said crooked nose. It's always cauliflower ears. You go buy that guy a drink.
You befriend
like,
him, yeah.
Like, dude, because like
if shit's
chances
going
are,
down,
he's probably gonna be pretty nice to you if you go up and you're just like, hey man, you seem like a cool dude. I'm gonna buy you a drink. He's probably pretty respectful. But then when shit goes down, that's the guy you want having your back. You don't want like dude with the cauliflower ears gunning for you when a bar fight goes down. I can't find Jack Della Maddalena's next fight.
just do UFC 290, and it'll be on the prelims. That's how stacked this card is he's on the prelims.
Holy shit, that's crazy. His UFC debut was on the main card.
Yeah. He, I'm trying to think of who's headlining the prelims. It's another good fight, too.
Robbie Lawler is headlining the prelims.
Against
Nico Price.
Yep, and it's Robbie
And
Lawler's...
it's Robbie Lawler's retirement fight.
Yep.
Shouts out to Robbie Lawler. That Rory McDonald fight.
That fight... Actually, you know what? I take it back. I take back what I said about...
Your favorite fight?
Well, that was the fight that got me back into UFC. Because, like, I saw that fight on a replay.
You see the warrior spirit.
That was the one that got me back into UFC. And then the Conor rise really hooked me in. But
yeah,
that was the fight.
That Lawler fight. You see shit that normal men ain't made of. That's
like
you watch a dude with a busted nose just spit out the blood
and then stare each other in the face.
His opponent and be like, dude, 5 minutes. Like, you got 1 minute, and I'm gonna come for you and beat the shit out of you for the next 5.
That goes right up there with Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
like,
full banger.
Yeah, you get that. You understand like a level of human emotion that you just don't get without that level of competition and without the intensity. Like, man, that is an intense moment. Like, I just imagining the thought process, the feeling in the stomach and your chest that like those guys must feel when they're looking at each other between those rounds, man. Like, that's got to be like unlike anything in this entire world.
Who's Maddalena fighting?
He is fighting Sean Brady.
Oh.
Just coming off a loss against Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad? And an absolute banger.
That's going to be a fucking killer fight. Like, that, they both... I mean, this is a huge fight for Maddalena. And then Sean Brady's got a lot to prove.
You think Sean Brady's got to get this fight to the ground, right? Like, he's got
I bet they strike.
You think they strike it out the whole time?
Depends on how the first round goes.
I think Sean Brady...
Or the first 10... Like, first minute and a half goes.
First 2 minutes, see how it goes. I think Sean Brady tries and get it to the ground. I think that was
he might have learned something out of that last one, yeah.
Well, I don't think he made a mistake by, like, testing Bilal's stand-up. Because, like...
Bilal's a good wrestler.
Dude, the wrestling credentials from Bilal. But, like, this time around, like, we haven't seen anybody really push the Maddalena wrestling
That's
like
true.
this.
That's
so,
true.
Like, I think Sean Brady would be wise to not immediately, like, he's got to use...
to take it to the
He's
ground.
got to use his striking to set it up. You're not just going to blast a double leg on a guy at this level in MMA. Like, you're not just going to walk in and shoot double legs the whole fight with no setup or anything. But, like, I think he's got to try and mix it up. Like, it was straight striking with Bilal, and he didn't come out on top. I think he's got to incorporate jiu-jitsu.
That's going to be a fun fight.
That's
going to be a fun card. The whole
You
card.
talk about an excellent prelim fight. Like, the fact that Robbie Lawler's retirement fight is on the prelims.
I mean, that says it all.
That speaks to the depth of the card.
That's going to be a great...
I don't think it's a slight to Robbie Lawler.
No,
in any sense.
I think he knows.
It's national. I mean, it's
And
internationally.
Nico Price, that's a great matchup, too.
Great contender. Internationally televised still. It's not like they're doing him dirty. And, I mean, you're going to get people tuning in for it. So,
Absolutely.
I'm hyped for that one.
All right, brother. I could talk MMA all day, and you know what? We're gonna have to run this show back again, and we'll talk more MMA next time.
I think so. Better, yeah.
But we're running pretty long, and I want to get you out of here. I don't want to just take up your whole night.
For sure, man.
But I did mention to you before, I always like to end my episodes with a positive or motivational message from my guests. What do you got, man?
So I thought about this a little. You gave me a heads up, like, we're going to have to talk, like, because I think at my heart, I really am a cynic and, like just kind of a grumpy old bastard. But, like, I really do think that, like, the end of the day, like, there's only so much you can control. And we're all, like, a small cell in a very big system that we don't fully understand. And that there's going to be things out of our control in life and things that we'll never understand. Bigger picture, if you will, a grand scheme, although I don't like to use those phrases because I don't know that there is so much like an intelligent design to it, but I know for a fact that like there's so much beyond our control that we can't see, and I don't want to just say like it doesn't matter what you do, but like, man, you keep working hard, you keep staying positive, like you'll end up where you need to be. Like I never would have guessed that I'd be married to my wife and that I'd be in a amazing band 10 years running now. But like maybe I'm just fucking lucky, or maybe all my hard work paid off, you know? Like I think like just stay positive, keep fucking working hard, man. Like that's all there is to it.
I've always thought what you put into the universe gives back to you. So if you put in positivity, if you put in hard work, if you be a good person, that comes back to you. Whereas if you do the opposite, most people who have shitty lives or who end up in shitty situations, they weren't exactly good people to start with. So I think if you stay the course and be a good person and work hard, it pays you back. Life pays you back.
There was I fucking wish I could remember who I should attribute this quote to, but I heard a great quote from an MMA fighter at a media day, and I can't remember who, but they said, you grow through what you go through. And like every negative in your life, like it really does have the opportunity to be a learning experience, and it's a lot easier to just sit on a couch and say that and be like, well, you just need to learn from it, move on. Like, it's really not that fucking easy to just be like, okay, well, now that I'm dealing with all this negative, my life's going to be so positive. But, I mean, you just got to keep moving forward. You got to stay positive and, I mean, have the faith. Like, I can't say that everybody's life is going to be perfect if you just keep working hard and keep staying at it, but I feel like there is a lot to be said that like a lot of hard work, a good attitude is going to get you a long fucking way.
Agreed. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And then everybody out there, make sure, go in the description. Click on both bands, check out all the work, check out the new albums, share them with your friends. Let's get the word out. And also, share this episode, like it, comment, do all that stuff. That's what we call cross promotion for
cross-pollination
for me and for you. So, thanks to everybody for listening.
Thank you, guys.
But don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
Dig it.
You've got